Hey everybody, Raul here for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the extraordinary honor of not bringing you one, but two bass players at the same time. I have Jeroen Thesseling and I have Steve Giorgio. Yay! And together they are one half of Quadvium, which is prog rock fusion quartet. So, as always, I like to go to the past. How did you get started in music and on bass? Jeroen, let's start with you.
Well, I didn't start with bass. I started with playing violin. And let's say from the age of 7, I got familiar with classical music and a little bit later on, more into Baroque music. But yeah, at the time I started with high school, I switched violin for bass guitar. So there were plans to continue with violin and study at a conservatory somewhere in Holland. But I kind of decided to switch to bass guitar. And from then on, like not long after, actually, I started at the preparatory training at the conservatory in Enschede in Holland. So it has been partly a classical background and partly like jazz. And from there on, also world music, though the main activities were always in the metal style. Yeah. So it's a combination of world music, later on flamenco, more melodic approach, but it's like classical and like, yeah, fusion, jazz, world. And it became, I kind of started to use this language, this way of playing bass into metal music. That's basically, yeah, in a nutshell.
Very interesting, and it does sound like it's almost part of the evolution as music, as we go through time. Music is morphing, taking things from different elements. So, Steve, same question for you. How did you get your start?
Well, I'm originally a kazoo player, and then I went to Amsterdam because I heard that Jeroen was a teacher.
I have a kazoo right
Um,
here.
yeah, it's good to have one on the desk. It's
Yes.
it's good for writing riffs and entertaining elderly women and things like
Yes,
that. It was
yes.
very effective. Yeah. So I went to the conservatory in Amsterdam, and Professor Thesseling taught me how to play everything I know, and that was about a week ago. So I've been working on it. Yeah.
And it's really he has really a good feeling for the instrument after 1 week already. Like,
There you go.
Yeah, like sometimes I play a little bit out of tune, and Jeroen says, push it up a little higher," and I said, "Right there," and he goes, "No, push it up a little bit higher," and I said, "Am I really that bad?" He goes, "Push it a little higher." I said, "Right here," and he goes, "Ah, now you're just too sharp. It's over."
Okay.
No, that's an old joke because, well, actually, it's not even a joke. That really happened. No, like JP, we both started music young, but far from the bass. I was more in the woodwind family.
Okay.
I went through every couple of years. I was bouncing around in band class at school, from bass clarinet to tuba and bass trombone, and then there was a orchestra opening where I could pick up the upright bass, and that was just kind of like a practice room level, find your way, you know, with a Mel Bay position book. All the notes are here in first position, notes are here in second. So I became familiar, I guess, with the instrument in that way, but it was around the same age probably as Jeroen, teenage, to play electric bass. I wanted to go home and put on Iron Maiden and
oh,
Black Sabbath albums and sit on the side of my bed and smoke my bong and learn how to play Rush songs and Jethro Tull and Yes, Closer to the Edge and all this stuff. And so that opened the door for learning heavy music and hanging out with guys and making our own after school bands and stuff. I built my own fretless bass in the late 80s because of my upright history, and I also heard my cousin kind of talking about replacing the neck on his bass. So I just said, I'll see what it's like. And well, never looked back, but 40 something years.
Nice. Very nice. Well, and Quadvium, it's you two, and then Yuma Van Ecklen is your drummer, and Eve Smith on guitar. And how did this group come about? Again, you guys are geographically in different parts of the world.
yeah. Yeah, well, Steve and I, we have been meeting frequently. Like, let's say since, I think it started around 2006 or something, that we knew each other already. We were
Good
actually,
20 years ago, easily. Yeah, 20 years ago.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we were inspired by each other, like I remember those albums Steve recorded with Death, that for me it was like, wow, like how bass fitted in so well, and in this concept, in this style. Also the melodic approach, and I think that's where we have also a musical match, but we met frequently when Steve was touring Europe or I was touring the US. And we were kind of playing with this idea, like, how could we get two
Yeah.
basses together? How could we bring something nice together, with a group, right, Steve?
Yeah, it's one of those classic things where, you feel a chemistry developing between musicians, and it's developing into a friendship, and that good old phrase like, "Hey, let's jam," comes up, let's jam, let's put something together. And we just kind of kept saying it, and we're like, "Hey, we should actually, we should stop saying it and we should start doing it." So we knew that we wanted to make a project together with our styles, and we knew that we wanted to make a band with predominantly fretless duet, but we had no idea how. So we just kept talking and talking and talking about it. And at some point, we finally started, we had a shared folder online, and we started dropping little song ideas in there. And then the first one besides us two was introduced, and that's Jeroen's friend Yuma.
Yeah. Yuma played in the past. We played together in Pestilence, so yeah, pretty technical, also progressive death metal. And Yuma is actually a very unique drummer. In Holland, he's actually one of the top-notch, one of the most talented jazz fusion metal players. This combination of styles. So his playing is very dynamic, and I immediately realized, like, if he wants to do this, if he's open to the idea to join us, that would be already like a big win, Yeah, but then we still had the struggle to find the struggle, like let's say a long adventure to find the right completion of the line.
Yes.
So Yuma joins in with the two of us, and our little song folder thing is slowly growing, but they're just little tiny crumbs. And we're like, man, we need to put these together and create a song. And some of the early attempts were so at best. And we started to have conversations. We realized, like, wow, even the three of us together, we're all just naturally support players. We had no composition forte between us. We needed someone to take those ideas and really, give them inertia. And we looked around a lot, and we would find musicians on Instagram or Facebook, whatever, just all these guys performing or listen to certain bands. And we went through a couple different guitar players. They sounded pretty enthused about joining a group with this unique format, but it doesn't really work unless you have the cerebral ability to picture that. And we realized that as enthused as these guys were to play, very, very talented players, could not compose what we were looking for. And then so the magical day comes on our internet search. Jeroen hits me up one day. He goes, "Hey, check out this link on Instagram." And guess who we found?
Yeah, we have been very, very lucky finding Eve. She's not only a super talented guitar player, not only a super talented fretless bass player, she's like a composer, a producer, actually everything in one, a highly talented person. And I think, we from the beginning, when we started to throw in rough ideas, our drafts, let's say, as how we work, we can come up with ideas, but they are not like a full song. So it's just ingredients. And that has been extremely helpful. She came up in no time with like he called it sketches, let's say,
Yeah.
but they already sounded in a pre-production like extremely well. So actually, a lot of things we have been taking, most of it actually we have been playing. There are parts where we filled in our own ideas, etc. But the main part of these songs, they were composed by Eve.
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. We used to have Zoom meetings, the four of us, to just, because like you pointed out at the beginning, geographically we're very spread out. So the only way we could have any kind of contact was to do Zoom meetings. So we would get on a Zoom meeting, and the first time Eve presented a song idea, and it was great. Yuma and Eve are both studio savvy. They're wizards, which makes things a lot easier on us two dinosaur bass players. So they would combine the Zoom call into the Pro Tools session, and so we could listen to the musical ideas and watch it and point to certain bars and this stuff. But it's funny because the very first idea Eve had, she's like, oh yeah, I really want to try this out, but I don't know if you guys are gonna like my idea. So let's just push play and listen to it. When we get to the end, everybody, let's tear it apart and see what you like, what you don't like. And they push play, and the three of us were just sitting there like, just mouth open and just frozen. And by the time we got to the end of the song, we're like, well, I don't want to change a single thing. It's a perfect song. And I do believe it's pretty close. Our first song is pretty close to its original, demo sketch phase. We barely changed anything. And it turned out to be, we love all 7 songs. We love the dynamic journey all the songs take and the different characters. But that song kind of developed our original identity. So we made it our first single, and me and Jeroen got together and did a performance video of it too. So it was a special time. We knew we found Eve was blown away, like just waiting for all these critiques and comments and changes. And we were like, no, we're fine. That's a great song. Let's keep going. Give us number 2,
Nice. Well, and the fact that you're mentioning numbers, this has all come together, kind of culminated in Tetradom. New album, essentially released just last May, I guess?
Yeah, last day of May or something like that. May 30th, I think.
Nice.
Right.
Nice. Well, and again, listening to the music, one of the things about prog is, I mentioned mathematical, because there is a level of precision when I listen to you, and this is where it gets so mind-boggling challenging, because with the drummer and what you guys are doing and the guitar, it's a very seamless merger, but it's like watching there's the staccato notes. It's like I don't know, watching a sea whiz fire rounds up into the air. I'm just like, oh my gosh, what is it? But it's also not just Fast and Furious. There is, smoothing into smoother versions, and there's calm. So it's a whole journey of the precision, and then catch your breath, and then you're like, go again, and all this. So it's quite an exquisite piece of work. So that is fabulous.
No, true. What you say is right. It's also composed very dynamically.
Yes.
And what happened actually in most pieces is that we divided the guitar tracks. So what you see back in Counterpoint, basically there's a lot of it's the metal ingredients, let's say, but we also used the space we had, with bass arrangements that you maybe wouldn't expect, but I think it reflects very much our styles. Steve's style is very different than my style. We both sound very different, but the magic thing that all fell together so naturally during the recording process here in Amsterdam, when Steve was here, is that these two basses, they have a very different character, and then both playing styles are very, very different, and they match so well. So that is also the magic that comes on top, apart from deciding who plays what, right?
Nice. Well, and one of the things that, again, I'm sure you're both aware of the great controversy in the bass world when anybody has more than four strings. And other than the drum, everybody's extended range, basically,
Mm.
going from five and up. And of course, add fretless to the mix, and you've got just this
Mm.
whole other realm. Was the extended range kind of always your comfort level? Again, kind of the argument,
Yeah.
if that's what works in your hands, then why not use them? I mean,
No, that's exactly the point. I mean, we play these instruments with intent. You know, we like the range. We want to cover everything from the most farthest left key on the piano to the farthest right, and we want to do it on a bass guitar. So, and then yeah, Eve with the 7 or 8 string guitar, or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, it's the intent there, but it's not so much about racing from point A to point B. It's just about having the note and harmonic availability, because you pointed out in some of the dynamic, oasis in some of this crazy mathematical parts, there's these huge chord voicings that are not only done on each instrument, but between the three instruments, we really spread out the sonic spectrum. So yeah, it's fully intended that we're playing these multi-string fretless instruments. Like you pointed out, all that craziness and the fireworks and the peaks and valleys and stuff. I mean, just as difficult as it is to listen to that, it was twice as difficult to get it there. I mean, we really chopped off a huge chunk of a mountain to get this done. It was composing this album was a we didn't we didn't think it was going to be easy, but once we got involved, it was like, oh my gosh, because Eve is composing, like Jeroen said, the majority of the song, and he does have some places where there's two bass tracks and then some holes, like I only went this far and I left this for you guys, and then some tracks had just a singular bass, and it was a big variety of stuff. So I'm getting used to the demo songs, and I know they're incomplete, but you could tell where they're going and stuff. And then I get to Amsterdam, and by the time I was there, Jeroen had really put in a huge chunk of study time on this, and he had separated Eve's bass tracks and even got more microscopic into splitting the call and answer type of playing that we do. And I'm looking, he has these huge double curved screen monitor set up, and he's got the session open, and you could just see the waves going back and forth of these guide tracks. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's this it's really difficult for either of us to play our singular line, because he divided it up so much that we share the bass line trading off so much that you really, like, you've heard the phrase, people complete each other's sentences. Well, we're doing that, but we're doing that like kind of every other word. And, so you have to really know when to speak and when to shut up. And it was really tough to do this. We knew at the end road that we wanted the basses to be doing this, but it was really tough to get there. And so not only is there the call and answer, but there's a lot of harmony where Jeroen slides up to this beautiful range on his 7 string, and I'm down crushing the low. Or actually, we do a pretty fair share of splitting high and low. There was a very, very specific intent to make sure we didn't have lead bass, rhythm bass, or main soloist, backup, or if there was a phrase in the song where there was a very high melodic passage and a low background, we would repeat the part later in the song, and the roles would reverse, so that whoever played the high melody earlier in the song, they would switch, and the other guy would play it later in the song. So it's fairly equally divided to where we're sharing high, low, melodic, background. I mean, it's about as 50-50 as you can get, because we wanted to make sure that this was a true conversation with these basses and not any other kind of, dominant role or anything else. And boy, like I said, it's easy to sit here and explain it, but had no idea how hard it was to do that. And so, yeah, when I got to Amsterdam, Jeroen spent a lot of time preparing this, and we spent even more time sitting side by side, working these out, and finding what works and stuff. And man, so yeah, it was really fun to finally complete it and hear it sound so crystal clear and just watch our baby grow. It's pretty proud
Yeah,
of. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I
Go,
think
Jimmy.
we went from a process of pre-production where Eve actually prepared already. She composed already so much. There were already so many ingredients. I also can remember that we had to decide, okay, where do we put both basses in the arrangements, but also like coloring wise, but also like she had sometimes 3 bass lines composed.
Wow.
So there is also parts where I take bass lines of 2 basses in one melody. So it's really like finding a way to get things done, and also, thank God, having all these ideas that she came up with. It was not that we were like, okay, we need to change this. No, they were already so great and beautiful sounding that we also, for many spots, we felt also like we shouldn't touch this. We should keep it as it is, right?
Nice. Well, and with this, again, I know the culmination of getting the album done and all that is quite the achievement. But just like mountain climbers that just finished scaling Everest, the question is, what's next? What is
Well,
upcoming for Quadvium?
I can tell you, based on that metaphor, that we are going to look for a way less high mountain, a lot lower elevation mountain to scale, because that was indeed our Everest. And for sure, we want to make a follow-up album. Jeroen has already planted a couple seeds. We have already that shared folder, and I've been on the road busy, so he's entertaining me with these new ideas he's been sending me. So little tiny seeds for the second album are already starting to appear. But I think we want to focus. We want to keep the spirit of the conversation between the basses alive, but I think we want to take the technicality to a point where we can perform it a little more comfortably. And, like you alluded to, one of your questions, you said where some of the dynamics really open up wide, and there's these nice, beautiful harmonic passages. But I think we want a little bit more of that, because our reaction to recording it, we seem to get a little more excited of that, because we're predominantly metal players, but we seem to enjoy this world vibe, the flamenco, the jazz. We want to incorporate more variety, and I think that is going to take the technicality to a level that's a little bit more listenable, decipherable, and we hope more playable. But it will still sound like Quadvium. I mean, we've definitely established our sound. Our first album is our calling card. So yeah.
Yeah, the magic thing actually of Tetradom is that Eve played so much with time measures, like there's so much going on, but when you listen through the songs, it's not something that is so harsh or disturbing. It feels kind of smooth, but there's a lot going on with that metronome. If you switch it on, then you actually notice like how complicated it is. And it would be maybe a good idea to bring that a little bit down. But the ingredients, I think the sort of a blueprint we found right now is these ingredients with jazz fusion, metal, and also this world music blend that, it makes it's like it's something that we had already in mind for a long, long time.
Nice. Well, and I'm sure people that are watching this are probably going to go, well, where can I find out more about what you guys are up to? Where's the best place for people to look to find out about Quadvium, new projects, all of that?
The best place to look. Well, we're on Agonia Records, so the record label should always post any kind of news. We do have our own, I guess what they call landing type page. What is it, Jeroen?
It's tetradom.com. Oh, no, sorry, quadvium.com. And we also, it's also via You can find it via Agonia Records. That's a landing page. And we have Facebook and Instagram.
Quadvium.com, not Tetradom. That was the
Right.
content. Yeah. Quadvium.com. We have a band Instagram account. We have a band Facebook account. Me and Jeroen try to actively post there and answer people's questions and try to, keep the connection with the listeners to show that we're actually human. And we really enjoy the comments too, because, we realize it's a pretty unique sounding thing. We went into this knowing it's a niche thing. And so we said, let's not just put out some weird music and disappear into obscurity and just be so aloof that people don't care. So we try to maintain a good contact with our fans. And so I guess to round it up, we're on all the socials and the label website and stuff. So, we always try to, keep something. We made a bunch of video reels, me and Jeroen fooling around, eating food and traveling around doing videos, and kind of reminds people, we have a couple of YouTube videos. Actually, we have 3 videos on YouTube. So people can access the music on the streaming platform, the videos on YouTube and all our socials. And we're trying to keep up with what's going on, currently with everything. So I think it's people just look up Quadvium, they'll find us and they can reach us.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you taking time from your busy schedule. Folks, make sure you check out Quadvium. Bring your seatbelt, strap yourself down, because it's going to be quite the ride once you're there.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you, gentlemen. Jeroen Thesseling, Steve Giorgio, coming to you on Bass Musician Magazine.
Thank you so much, Raul. We appreciate it a lot. And thanks for supporting it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really like you spreading the word for us and bringing attention to us, man. I really appreciate it.